Welcome. In front of me I have the brand new Samsung Galaxy A35, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone itself. So let's just cut our way into the box. No, actually we don't need to cut our way, we have pull tabs. No, never mind, they're absolute dog shit like most of the things that Samsungs make. There we go. So even though we have these nice pull tabs, they mean absolutely nothing, because you still need to cut your way in, as they work absolute crap. Okay, now here we have our charging cable and some paperwork, so there we go. Not really gonna go into it. It's a typical disappointment, which is basically nothing in terms of accessories for your device. And we get the phone itself. There we go. And going over the specifications of this phone, let's start off with the display. So right here we have a 6.6-inch display running a resolution of 1080 by 2340, basically a 1080p resolution. It is a Super AMOLED display, 120 Hz refresh rate, and a typical brightness or peak brightness of 1000 nits. I think that's typical brightness. It also boasts a 84.8% screen to body ratio with a pixel density of 390. Now, considering this device was released basically at the beginning of the year of 2024, I have to say that in terms of looks, it looks a bit dated. The bezels right here are pretty big for a device at this year, and if I just kind of, compare it to something like my device, which is already like a 4 or 5-year-old device, you can see that the bezels at the, for instance, bottom are basically the same, but then on the sides, you see on a 5-year-old device, they're better, and I do have this ugly ass little notch right here. But like I said, that's a device that has released about 5 years ago now. So I'm giving it some leniency here. This, on the other hand side, is Samsung's phone, which Samsung has access to their good displays, and there is no reason for it to look this foggy. So let's continue on. One last thing that I'm going to mention is the glass on here, and that would be, if I can actually find it, Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. Now, if we flip it over, we have a triple camera setup. It looks basically identical as the S23 lineup did. So, originality here, creativity, it's non-existent, obviously. So the sensors right here is a 50 megapixel f1.8 wide sensor with PDAF and optical image stabilization, then 8 megapixel f2.2 123 degree ultra wide lens, and then we have a 5 megapixel f2.4 macro lens. Now those cameras, again disappointingly, you can record videos at 4K 30 and 1080p. We can actually have 60 frames, so 1080p, 30 and 60 with gyroscopic electronic image stabilization. Then at the front, we have a hole-punched camera that houses a 13 megapixel wide sensor that allows you to record at 4K and 1080p at 30 frames, both. So there we go. Now, continuing on into the internals, where Samsung continues to, in my opinion, disappoint, we have a 5000 mAh battery that maxes out charging speeds at 25 watts. Straight up like it's 12 with the 25 watts. It's absolutely disappointing and an absolute joke. So yeah, this is one of the biggest kind of L's for Samsung. I want to point out that this device isn't necessarily budget. It costs 380 euros. This is smack in the middle of mid-range devices, and as a mid-range device, I just cannot recommend it. It under-delivers in a lot of different things. The only benefit for this device that won't really apply to everyone is going to be the OS in here, which is the One UI 6.1. If you like Samsung design and their bit longer kind of area of expertise in terms of creating OSs or custom like skins for Android, and obviously you will probably like this. I personally don't really like their OS, so it's not really a selling factor for me. And additional point would be you have the access to basically the entire Samsung ecosystem, which in certain cases is good, like with their smart things, people might use that and really like it. Again, it's nothing that really caters to me. And the second one would be cameras, which again is associated with the tweaking of the Android system. So obviously Samsung has their own kind of flavor to their cameras and some kind of processing that they're doing in the background, which will give some additional flair to the photos that come out of this device. But outside of that, most devices capture nowadays basically the same photos, and it's just a matter of preference which one you like more. And at the price of this device, I can't really recommend if you're gonna be getting similar results in photos or very like minusculely worse photos from other devices, but have way better like user experience in terms of performance and what you pay for the device. So that being said, great devices that I personally like at this kind of price range would be the Poco lineup from Xiaomi. The Poco lineup just straight up always just dumpsters every other device at whatever price range they release it. So they have two different price ranges and two different like models that they have. So we have the Poco F5s and X6s. X6s are a bit higher end. They're basically borderline flagship devices and they will cost more. But the F5 will have a better performance and basically specs compared to this device all across the board, and will come at basically the same kind of price. So there's no reason to go for Samsung when Samsung offers you an inferior product for the money with their garbage ass Exynos 1380 and 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM, when you can get something like a Snapdragon 7 Gen 2 with the Poco F5 Pro as an example at about the same price. And I believe they also had a 100 megapixel wide sensor as the main camera. So again, begs the question, why would you buy this for inflated price? Now, anything else that I missed here? Let's see. We do have under display fingerprint sensor. We have our SIM. I believe this is also an SD tray, which is surprising. Oops. Pop it out. Yep, so we have either dual SIM card support or SIMs/SD support. So that's a little bit more than what I would expect from Samsung, as they usually give you just dual SIM card support, but here, pop in an SD card and you're good to go. Talking about SD cards and storages, this device at the very like lowest end comes with 128 gigabytes of storage and 6 gigs of RAM. Then we have 128 with 8, 256 with 8. And honestly, the entry price, if you really want to save up money, is okay. 128 with 6 gigs should be good enough, though again for 370 euros I consider this to be an absolutely egregious price for 128 and 6 gigs of RAM. So yeah, not exactly saying that this is a recommended configuration to go with, as you're overpaying for it. And yeah, that's about it. There's not much to say about the device. It's just another Samsung phone. It looks almost identical to some other devices, just more budget made, as we do have a plastic frame. We have glass back and glass front. But all in all, it's just I don't even know if I can call this a mid-range device. It comes at a mid-range price, but honestly, with the Exynos in here, I wouldn't recommend it. So I do want to clarify this. I'm saying I wouldn't recommend Exynos. It's not like this processor is super bad or anything like that, but like I say, in comparison to other devices at this price range, this is a more expensive device that doesn't really offer, at least in my opinion, anything that would make it worth that extra money compared to, you know, device that has better specifications. Usually you have to have something that distinguishes the device to actually ask for that price. Samsung always relies on their software as the go-to option, but if you don't like their software like I do, this is just a kind of like a garbage device all in all. So anyway, that being said, hopefully you found this video helpful, informative, and I hope I did explain my kind of strain of thoughts right here pretty well. But in any case, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to smash like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.